I appreciate you guys tuning in every single Monday at 8:30 p.m. Shout out to Flume TV, GMT Radio. Shout out to my guy Ryan. And for all of you guys that check us out every Monday. So as per usual, we have yet another phenomenal guest, and this lady right here is very near and dear to me, because she has definitely been a very integral part of what we've been doing with the conference and what we've been doing with Woke Money. And she, she helps so many people, and I can't wait to dive into this interview. So before we get started, y'all know what this is. Okay, this is the Woke Money Wine. It is crafted by Signature Sips. Shout out to Signature Sips. It is fortified, so it's a little bit stronger. Look, Miss Tracy looked a little nervous. Look, it's a little bit stronger than your normal wine, but it is all natural. It's gluten free and vegan. So I'll let you get a little taste. So while I pour, I'm gonna pour just a scoonch, not that much. Okay, I'm gonna pour you just a scoonch. So while I pour you a little bit of the wine, can you introduce yourself to the people and let them know who you are and what it is that you do?
Sure. My name is Tracy Moore. I'm from the Sunnyside area here in Houston, Texas. Born and raised. I'm the program administrator for Anchoring Hopes Wellness Recovery Institute, doing business as Anchoring Hopes. And what we do is we provide mental health, wellness, and substance misuse recovery support services.
Okay. Well, let's take a little taste. Let's see what you think about the Woke Money wine. Not, is it too strong for you?
It's a tad bit strong.
That's a tad bit strong.
But it's good.
Well, that's good. What no problem. What's the flavors that you taste?
It's a white wine. Is there lime or lemon?
Yes, like lemon, citrus base.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, Miss Tracy said that she vouches for the Woke Money wine, so I think it's good to go.
It is.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, Miss Tracy, I know that I know your story, right? I know. But for those that don't know, who you are and why, you got into this space, let's tell them, how did you get into like the mental health space in the first place? Like, how did that happen?
Sure. So, as I said, I'm from the Sunnyside area, and I came from a traditional Catholic family. My grandparents migrated from Louisiana to Texas, looking for better opportunities. They had 14 kids. I was the oldest grandchild, which meant I had lots of cousins. And so being the oldest, you always have to take care of the ones that came behind you.
For sure.
And I had great times with my cousins. However, at some point, I began to experience trauma in the home. When I experienced that trauma, of course, CPS came in. I was removed from the home, placed in CPS custody. At that time, CPS was doing a special project of group homes, and they were using some of the old BBH homes there in Bel Air. And so they took girls of all different races. They put us in the group home format with parents. And that went very well. I was with other Black youth, Hispanic youth, Caucasian youth, and we were sisters because that's all we had was each other. And then, unfortunately, some of my foster sisters began to experience systemic trauma from the parents in the home. And so CPS didn't know what to do. So they split us all up. For me, they sent me back home. And at that time, I was really angry and confused because it's like you took me from my home and you placed me in this home.
And then
that was really well. And then you snatched me out of that home and sent me back to this home. So due to that anger, I was very promiscuous. And at the time, my family just let me do whatever because they didn't want CPS to come in.
Gotcha.
And snatch me.
Gotcha.
So I got pregnant at 15. I had my daughter at 16. I raised my daughter as a single parent. She's now a registered nurse at Methodist Hospital and the Medical Center, running one of the liver transplant teams. And so I went on. I thought I was living my life. I had my little hole in the wall club on Reed Road. I had a trucking company where my brother was my driver. We had a contract with the military to deliver jet fuel to Fort Polk. And I was running my other cousin's trucking company. I thought I had it going on.
Which actually, to the outside world, you would have. Yeah. It looked like you did. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
All the while working as an educator, because I worked my way through college and I went to grad school and graduated from the University of St. Thomas. But what had occurred was I had experienced trauma in the workplace. And when I experienced that trauma in the workplace, all of that other trauma came back. That unresolved trauma came back, and I didn't know how to handle it. So I was telling my family, I think I need to go see a psychiatrist. And they were like, oh, no, Tracy, Black people don't go to the psychiatrist. You need to go back to the closet and pray harder. So I was like, okay, let me go back in the closet and pray harder. But things continued to break down for me. And so when I went to the psychiatrist, and I went to one in River Oaks, I went to the best. He was like, Tracy, you're in a constant state of anxiety, and you were always predisposed to mental health conditions. It was the trauma you experienced in the workplace that triggered it.
Oh, wow.
And so he was like, let's try all of these medications. We just need to find the right cocktail for you and you'll be okay. Well, we tried for 2 years and we didn't find the right cocktail. So one day I came home from work, I, hit the little button to open the garage door. I drove my little black Benz in the garage, got out the car, went and got in the bed and could not get out. So at that time, things broke down tremendously for me because I lost my job. I lost all of my businesses. I lost my vehicles. I lost my home. And it was to the point to where the constables was coming, putting that little note on the door saying, you have to get out. So, of course, I couldn't do anything for myself. My family came and removed me. They split up my belongings. And I found myself at my mom's house for the first time since I had left home at 17. And then when my family removed me from my home, they didn't make any concessions for my dogs. So the next thing I know, Harris County Sheriff's Department was knocking on my mom's door to arrest me. And I was arrested. And I was really, really angry. Because I was put on probation for 2 years for animal cruelty. And I had never had a traffic ticket, let alone have a record.
Jesus Christ.
So when that occurred, I was in a pit of despair with no hope. And one day this Jehovah's Witness lady came knocking at the door. My mom was gone because at that time I wasn't getting out of the bed. I wasn't doing any personal hygiene. I was having really bad anxiety and panic attacks. So my mom was gone to the hair salon. The doorbell was just ringing, ringing, ringing. So I get up to go answer the doorbell. It's this cute little old Black lady, Jehovah's Witness. And she was saying, can I come in and speak to you about God? And I'm like, oh my gosh, lady, I smell, I look bad. But we were always raised to be very respectful of everyone. And so I was like, okay, if you want to. And she came in and we talked about God. And when she left, it was something that resonated with me. And it was pray about everything, worry about nothing. So I had asked myself, Tracy, do you really believe in God? And I thought about it for a long time. And I was like, do I? And then I said, I think I do. So I said, if I'm going to believe in God, I'm going to believe that scripture. So anytime I would worry about something or anxiety or a panic attack, I would just focus on that scripture and recite that scripture. And you know what? Things began to get better for me.
Wow.
And when things began to get better for me, I began to take care of my personal hygiene. I began to sit in the garage, with the garage door up, looking at the sun. Then I began to take walks around the neighborhood. And then I got online and I started researching about all of the mental health conditions they said I had. I wanted to learn about it. And I came across this organization at the time called Via Hope. Well, Via Hope was being funded by UT Austin, the Hogg Foundation, to do this wrap around Texas. And what they were doing is going all around Texas, trying to educate people who had mental health conditions that you could be in recovery. I had never heard that before. I was told I had to take all of these medicines, apply for Social Security,
And then that's life.
That was going to
That's
be the
life.
end of my life. So I applied to get into the Wraparound Texas program. I got accepted. One of the things they made sure they did was they made sure there were no barriers for me to get to them. They paid for the program. They paid for transportation. They paid for food, hotel. They even gave me a stipend.
Wow. Yes. Wow.
So when I got to that training, it was like the heavens had opened up for me and somebody was smiling down on me, because when I got to that training, I had met my community. And not only did I meet my community, but I met my community and they were living and leading healthy, productive lives. And not only did I meet my community and they were living and leading healthy and productive lives, but guess what? They were standing up and they were sharing and they were telling their story without any stigma or embarrassment. So I gleaned as much information as I could from that training. I took it back home with me. I put in place what worked for me. And then BLHO contacted me again and they were like, hey, would you like to be a facilitator? We'll pay for everything and you can bring this back to your community. And I was like, hey, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I went back. They trained me some more. I took it back to my community. And then BLHO had this other program called Peer Voice Project. And what Peer Voice Project was doing is they were taking new peers who were entering into the community. They were teaching them this transformational leadership program. They would bring you to Austin every other month. They would bring people from all over the world with mental health conditions to train you on certain things. And a part of that program was we had to implement something in the community that was going to be impactful. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to start my own organization, where I can bring this back to my community without any shame or stigma. And that's how Anchoring Hopes is.
Wow. What a story. And I there's many things that I want to point out, while as I'm listening to you talk about that. The first thing is that we think that it's normal, like, when we have all this trauma, and like you said something very like powerful, like, oh, you don't need to talk to nobody and this, that, and the third. But from your own personal experience now, if you could tell somebody that's going through that situation, what would you tell them? Most definitely.
Yes. Okay. So in our culture, especially when I was growing up, you couldn't talk about what was going on in the household.
That's true.
You better not tell somebody, because if they call mama or daddy and say, hey, such and such said such and such, you know what's going to happen.
For sure.
But I think we've moved away from that. And then back in the day, you would hear, oh, they had a nervous breakdown. Well, a nervous breakdown back in the day is a mental health crisis today.
Gotcha.
So it was there. It was just hidden.
The way, exactly. Yes. So so what I want to say is, now that we're in an age that, let's take care of our mental health, right? Because health is wealth. Mental health is wealth, right? Absolutely. Because it doesn't matter how much money that you have or what you have acquired. If your mental health ain't right, you can't do anything. But I think what also is important to also know is that there's a lot of resources out there. Oh, so if you are suffering, like, you don't have to suffer, right? I mean, I think that's something that people really need to hone in on. If you're not taking anything else out, you don't have to suffer anymore in silence.
Absolutely. And you don't have to be ashamed.
For sure.
We're speaking up because we want to break that stigma. One of the things, when I first started doing this, it was so funny because people would ask me all the time, how did you get into this? I would be like, oh, I had a mental health breakdown, and my family would just cringe. And they would say, can you stop doing that? Tell people you got a degree from the University of St. Thomas, or tell people you used to be a police officer, tell people you used to be a principal. And I said, no, because if I don't stand up and share that part, how will people know it's okay?
Exactly.
To speak up and talk about it. And you would be surprised of the responses I get for people. I remember one time this lady pulled me to the side and she was like, she was whispering, I had a breakdown. And I was like, oh, it's okay. Yeah, so we have to start sharing and be honest to break that stigma.
For sure. And to break the cycle too. Because
Absolutely.
the thing is that, like you said, back in those days, it's like don't tell nobody, what's going on in this house. But now as these programs and people are like being more open and being more, now it's like, okay, now people feel comfortable where they don't have to, it's like breaking those generational, curses and cycles.
Absolutely, because something you just said is very, very important. You said health is wealth. When I would be stressed the most when I couldn't pay my bills. Oh my gosh, that would just tear me up. And then I think by not responding to them or answering the phone, it's gonna get better or it's gonna go away when it just got worse.
Understood.
So that's very important too. If you're not healthy, then you can't attune to or deal with your financial health, which is very important as well.
For sure. So Anchoring Hopes is what you created through this, through this journey. Yep. And tell us a little bit more about what Anchoring Hopes, really specializes in and what resources people can get from you directly.
So what we're doing right now, we started with a contract from the Texas Workforce Commission, and we still have that contract where we ourselves provide RAP training to anyone they send, and TWC pays for that. We moved on from that, and now, we are still doing that. But what we're doing now, the biggest impact is we have a contract with Harris County Juvenile Probation Department, and we're providing juvenile probationers and their family members with RAP training, anger management, life skills training. We're working with Ms. Cat to do some financial education. And what else? Is something else we're doing? Mental health counseling and substance abuse counseling.
So there's no excuse, guys. Like you said, first of all, it's okay that, to admit that we have a problem. But then I think the best part is having a solution. And so what Anchoring Hopes is saying is like, hey, because the thing is, and what I know about Miss Tracy to be true is, even if she can't serve you, I'm sure that there's some resource, right? Is that fair to say? There's some resource that you're connected to that can help, that person. So I just want to say, because Miss Tracy does so much in this community, like I think that is phenomenal. And I appreciate you sharing your story, because like you said, now people can see, like, man, I'm about to have a breakdown, or I could have a breakdown. This is what I can do to prevent that. Or if I experience this, like, there are resources definitely available, for me. Right. But I kind of want to, shift gears for it. Look. Look, while she's sipping, I kind of want to shift gears a little bit, because Anchoring Hopes is one of our sponsors for the Woke Money Conference. We don't take that lightly. So I just want to publicly say thank you for your sponsorship. And I just want to ask, like, because you're going to be there at the conference and you're going to be hosting a workshop, right? And what can people look forward to, coming to come see you? Because what I'm going to say this, guys, I'm not biased, right? I love everybody. But what I will say is that last year, Miss Tracy had like the most packed and and not only the most packed workshop, but everybody was like, I need to connect with Miss Tracy. I need to, like, I think it was a little overwhelming, was it? Just a tad, just a little bit. So, Miss Tracy, you're coming back this year to the Woke Money Conference. What can people look forward to?
So last year we talked about contracts and grants, and we gave your participants the basic information about how to go search in the state of Texas for contracts anywhere in Texas. So this year we're going to be working on nonprofit entities. I've had a lot of people call me, tell me about nonprofit. So I personally went to school and through a program in Dallas so I could be able to share the correct information. You know how you have people when you meet them and they say, I have a nonprofit, I just cringe. The reason why I cringe is because no one person can own a nonprofit. You can form a nonprofit, You can be on the board of a nonprofit.
But
you can be the executive director of a nonprofit, but you can't own a nonprofit. A nonprofit is owned by the community. That's why it's a nonprofit. So I just want to share that information. Also, they'll receive everything they need to start their nonprofit. And then some more information, because I hope to probably eventually start an academy, maybe something anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks, where I can take the person step by step and end with them getting a contract or a grant for their nonprofit.
That's phenomenal. But I want to say two things. I want to say, first thing is, if you looking to start a nonprofit, I know that she kind of like touched on it, but you need to come to this workshop, because I'm pretty sure Miss Tracy is going to tell you step by step, point by point. This is obviously something that if you're going to get a ticket to the conference, like, it's well worth whatever fee you pay to get up in here just for that one workshop. But one thing that Miss Tracy didn't really specify is, like, she's a master at getting, like, writing these grants, y'all, like, for real. So you, like you said, not only are you going to show them, how to do the nonprofit, but also just a little taste, and maybe even just offer maybe some one-on-one coaching or mentorship or whatever. And whatever she does, it'll be well worth it, right? But at the end of the day, guys, you guys are saying that you want, this information. Oh, I need to start a nonprofit, this, that, and the third. This information is something that's going to be readily available. You don't want to miss out. So you say you're working on potentially putting together academy, but for if there's anyone that wants like coaching or mentorship, do you offer that personally? Yes. Okay, perfect. So just for clarity, I just want to make sure before I blasted out something that was not right. Miss Tracy does offer the one-on-one mentorship in the coaching with her team. Correct? Okay, awesome. Well, I just want to say yet again, thank you so much for coming on to the Woke in Business podcast, just sharing your story with us. I think it's so inspirational, and I think that for those that may be hearing this, they're like, you know what, like you said, I can get through this. Your testimony, I'm sure, resonates with somebody to be able to press through. Do you have anybody that's out there that's listening that may be suffering, for someone that's been through it? Do you have any words of encouragement or anything that you want to kind of end off with?
Absolutely. No matter what you're going through, no matter how bad it is, no matter how dark it is, no matter what it looks like, never give up hope. If you're breathing, there's hope.
Okay. Well, we appreciate that. So speaking of hope, right? Anchoring Hopes is your entity. How can we stay connected with you if they want to reach out maybe for some mentorship or just learn more about different programs and things of that nature? How can we stay connected with you?
Just go to info@anchoringhopes.org.
info@anchoringhopes.org. Awesome. Well, Miss Tracy, I again appreciate you. Thank you for coming through to the Woke in Business podcast. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. It is your girl, Miss Cat, the founder of the Woke Money Movement. We are here every single Monday from on GMT Radio. Shout out to Flume TV. Shout out to my guy, Ryan, at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I'll say this yet again, for those that are just tuning in or may have not heard this, we are hosting a major conference at NRG Center on June 8th. And you need to be there. So we're going to have, not just the financial literacy piece, but the mental health piece. We'll have the advocacy piece, all in one place. This is going to be Black excellence. This is going to be for us, by us, and you definitely want to be there. So wokemoney.org is where you can get more information, and just stay tapped in. If you're not following us, You can find us at the Woke Money Movement on Facebook, at Woke Money Movement on Instagram. So we'll see you here next week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and y'all be blessed.